Alright guys, welcome back to another monthly cup, and this time we are having the first ever Oversky Cup. Cappuccino is joining me on the desk. Cappuccino, are you excited, man? Oversky, it's here.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. Just because of all the new cards that were added, it means so much more now to preparing your lineup. It's like, okay, do I consider, toe ships? Do I consider Dreamkeeper? It's just a lot of different deck building opportunities, and it's really nice that players once again have this reinvigoration to deck build and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. We're going to see either some stuff we've seen on ladder recently, or maybe some players have been keeping their decks secret, not revealing them on ladder, keeping them in their testing circles. We'll get to see some new spice coming from the Oversky. Any decks that stand out to you so far from the full release of the Oversky?
I mean, both Yellow Rush stands out as a deck that improved because of the Flash Salmon. And then on top of that, Blue Green now, a lot of people are favoring it again because of Frog Tosser, because of these extra ramp reward cards. And Blue Green has a ton of land acceleration. So I think that's a popular one. We got to see it a bunch in the qualifier. And yeah, I think that one stands out. But, even something more rush or mid-range orientated, the blue-yellow with getting toe shipped, there's just so much you can do now. So I'd be really excited to see if someone brings that to the lineup.
All right, so we have some fantastic decks on the way for you guys. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, what is everyone playing right now? Do they have any secrets up their sleeves? Are they hiding anything from ladder? Let's take a look at the bracket for today. The players are going to compete for $3,300. Strudel right at the top there, our monthly cup champion. The last champion of the core set. We are going to crown an Oversky champion today. And up first, we have Mayhem, a two-time monthly cup champion, versus I Win Again, a monthly cup runner-up. Any matches on this bracket catch your eye, Cappuccino?
Well, I'm looking at I Win Again as the only Canadian, and I gotta say, I Win Again. He's got to bring the Canadian hope for us, take it all the way. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of strong players on the bracket. We have like Strudel, Imperia, the two previous winners, or first and second, and it's going to be neat to see if they can once again get into those top two spots.
We've even seen some old faces show back up. XYZ makes his return to this cup. We haven't seen him in a while, I believe. We also have Superb Lizard playing today, usually joining us on the desk, but today he is going to be competing. All right, guys, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into our first game, and welcome back to Scorch as well. He's going to be joining us once again on the cast. Cappuccino and Scorch, take it away.
Yeah, so joined again with Scorch. Happy to have you back. How's it going?
Oh man, I am so excited today for the Oversky. Again, you guys were talking about all these cool cards that we're going to see. I think we're more likely to see some than others, obviously, because of the way the expansion was released. We had certain cards released a week at a time. So things like the Dreamkeeper, like you were talking about, like the Gem Shell that came out this week, those cards maybe we don't see quite as much today just because there hasn't been quite as much time for testing of the players.
Yeah, for sure. And even some of the cards that were released earlier on, though, there's still so much testing you have to do when you start considering your lineup for Pantheon, right? In just ladder testing, you have all of blue and yellow available, but when you start looking at Pantheon, it's like, okay, well, if I'm bringing a yellow deck, what can I still leave open to the blue-yellow? Can I still do a blue-yellow deck? And so players that want to bring both of those maybe have to, make some adjustments, and then you have to test those adjustments. Does it still work? So a lot of testing to be done.
Yeah, and I know a lot of players, yourself included, were running some of these very cool tricolor, quad color decks because some of the really interesting cards from Oversky only require one of certain special lands, and then we're looking at wild lands that can be anything. But again, like you're saying, in those situations, you can't always bring those type of decks to the monthly cup just because of the format here.
Yeah, and players are selecting their decks. We'll be jumping into game right now. Here we go.
Yeah, we were just kind of waiting on both to ready up in the Discord chat there, and then it was as soon as I hit ready, they both hit ready. So we got a really quick start to the game here, and ooh, very interesting coming out. Is that going to be more of this neutral rush coming up from my win again? This is something we saw way back.
I'm such a fan of I Win Again. He plays neutral as well in tournaments, and I just love it. I was actually scrimming against a couple of the players that are qualified. I think I can just mention I was scrimming against Sweetie and Lou a couple days ago just to test my lineup for Slurs if I were to play. And neutral, I managed to have pretty good success with, and I'm wondering if I Win Again's gonna have the same success that I was having.
I want to say, I think it was I Win Again, way back when the King of the Hill was being run by NoFEL. I believe it was I Win Again brought a deck like this. It used more of the neutral rush style cards like we're seeing in his hand right now, and then it used things like Axe Grinder because it only requires 1 mountains, things like the Ordrum Templar because it only requires 1 desert. So you're able to extend your lands very quickly because of the neutral cards, and then you have these very powerful rush style single land requirement cards to complement.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen that. Since then, we've had a lot of cards added in. Emperor's Command was also a card that was added since he's played it. I always opted in more for just the pure neutral, but you're right that he did favor the Templars and the Axe Grinders, able to become those just huge threats if there's no answer. And for Mayhem, though, we have what looks to be like a burn deck with Charger Grappling Hook. Now, does this look awesome or what? If you can manage to get your Charger with Grappling Hook and shoot face, you might just be able to chunk someone for like 10 damage.
Yeah, I'm very interested, considering the cards that we saw off the start here for Mayhem, if it was more of a just red-yellow control style, running a lot more of events with the synergy with the Windstorm Charger. But now that we're seeing the Brute, of course, that Gift of Steel leans itself more towards a combat-style deck, so could just be in there for the event synergy, but definitely now seems like it is still much more of that burn style. And we do see I Win Again going for the mountain now that he's picked up that Flame Burst. So I am expecting to see those little complement cards of the special lands coming in. I don't know if we'll quite see Ordrum Templar in there as well, or if it'll just be Axe Grinder Flame Burst style.
Yeah, for sure. With the Flame Burst pickup, I'm going to lean more towards it just being a red rush deck that's heavy neutral. Just because you want to be able to start contesting those elementals. You know, in the blue-green decks now, we start to see a lot of water Ellies, wood Ellies. Maybe he's just saying, okay, I want these 4 or 5 bodies or 4 bodies. And I wonder then if he's also running Waryak. That's also another body that lines up well against elementals.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you guys talked off the bat of that blue-green, because we've kind of seen it pop up everywhere. Of course, Frog Tosser has been out as one of the longest cards from the expansion. It was one of the earliest released cards. And then the Tree of Everlife, which I'm sure we'll see quite a bit throughout the course of the day, gained so much popularity through this week once it was released. Some of these more rush style and more aggressive decks have been popping up more and more just as a counter to how greedy some of the other big decks are from the Oversky expansion.
Yeah, and something that you'd be a little bit scared to do nowadays is preemptively buff a creature, but with I Win Again only on 2 mountains, he's not able to threaten any Crystal Flower or any of those punish cards to the pre-buff, so he's just going to try and all in, get as much pressure as he can, and Mayhem with that preemptive buff means he can keep his creature alive to take some trades.
Yeah, no, again, the creatures look very good for I Win Again. If Mayhem is able to stabilize a little bit here, which it looks like he should be able to do, he has the Brute in a good position. He probably has Windstorm Charger coming down in a protected spot by the Brute on this turn. He can maybe combo that into stabilizing next turn, but it looks like another 8 damage going to go to the orb here of Mayhem, and that single Flame Burst maybe just means that another Flame Burst I Win Again picking up, or something like a Campfire if he's running that, is going to be at least 2-turn lethal.
I almost wonder if that was too greedy though, because with taking 8 damage against a red player, you can expect there's going to be Flame Burst in that deck, and so I wonder if the Charger just had to actually block face and just accept the fact that you'll be taking an unfavorable trade. If you have the Flame Burst and use Charger to kill a 4-drop, it's bad, but you're already getting favorable trades with the Shining Brute, so I think this is a situation where I Win Again's just going to be able to burn him off.
Yeah, it looks like Mayhem going for that line, actually, as you pointed out, is a much greedier line. You're trying to get that value next turn through using the events, but you're going to take another 4 this turn, and the Waryak coming down is going to be difficult to deal with as well here. It doesn't look like Mayhem's going to have enough to clear everything on board.
I'm trying to think of what he could draw. If he finds Cypher's Wrath, he can Flame Burst Cypher's Wrath the Hunted Outlaw and get more resources that way, and then he'd have the full clear.
Would be if the deck is running a Cypher's Wrath, because it might not as well. Obviously, seeing the 1 Flame Burst, maybe you can draw into a 2nd Flame Burst. He does have the Faeria for that, but in this situation, yeah, it's Flame Burst, Cypher's Wrath, maybe even a Soul Drain, and that's just not going to do it. So I win again with a very quick start here. Is going to take game number 1. Just Mayhem does not have the resources to clear all these creatures.
He can live, though. He can Flash Wind the Waryak up a tile, scoot over the Shining Brute to hit into the Maceman, and then if you training your Charger, you can take the trade. Well, you can training the Shining Brute instead, and then kill off the Hunted Outlaw. So he has the ability to stop lethal.
And that play actually gives you the clear onto the Hunted Outlaw, meaning that you may draw into something else that can help you more next turn, or just the extra Faeria to get towards, you know, maybe picking up that card that you need next turn of a body block or something along those lines.
Yeah, it looks like Mayhem sees it. I wonder... Wait, there's no lethal, is there?
11 down to 9, 6.
Oh, I guess Mayhem just didn't think he could win from that position, or didn't want to go for it anyway, and that's going to be I win again with the neutral heavy red rush deck.
It's always interesting. I think we always have one per tournament, essentially, where one of us spots a Flash Wind play where you can use it on an opponent's creature, which, because it costs 3 to do, most of the players almost never even consider it as an option.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you're trying to look for lines where you can win or get a favorable exchange, and you know, you kind of dismiss the idea of spending 3 Faeria to move an enemy creature because you think you're going to lose anyway, but it would have at least given him the opportunity to stay in the game.
Yeah, at least survive one more turn. Now, whether that ends up being back into the game, I think he would have been in a position where the Brute survived and the Charger would have still died because it only had 4 life in that spot, but yeah, really nicely played by Win again. An aggressive deck to get in early before your opponent's able to set up really pays off in that situation where Mayhem is playing a deck. And again, looks like he's going to be playing this blue-green that we've been talking about. It takes a long time to develop because of all the lands that it needs.
Yeah, but that's why it runs those elementals, and when you have them early, you can land ramp so fast sometimes. So it's going to be interesting to see if you can find like an early feed to get some Faeria ramp. And then we could see some early Fraud Tossers, but I would have imagined the blue-green is slightly less favored against the red rush deck, whereas the red-yellow probably was a favored matchup that was just unfortunate to lose.
Yeah, we do see actually a really good start for Mayhem here. Looks like he's going to go maybe towards that Wood Elemental on turn 2, but could be towards the Water Elemental as well. It just usually in this type of a situation, you see players go for one land, especially in a deck like this where it is building so many lands. You'll go for one like the lake that Mayhem placed, and then you'll go for the other. So we'd probably see the Forest come down in the Wood Elemental because that just combos into having split lands instead of having 3 lakes on this turn. So that is what we end up seeing here from Mayhem.
Yeah, and with that Shifting Octopus in hand, he's going to be able to have the option to make it into a 5/5 body, so a great creature to contest the Waryak. However, I win again with the early Horsemaster is going to get that favorable trade before the Shifting Octopus has a chance to even get on the board. Now it's more likely we see a 3/7 type body. Shifting Octopus, very, very flexible in the way you can build it.
Yeah, really interesting card. Mayhem could have been in a position there where he just went kind of Water Elemental off on the far side. Did he go Taunt and +1? Okay, so Taunt +1 is also very nice because it does keep it alive in trading with the Waryak here. Really nice pickup of the Cypher's Wrath from my win again. We'll probably see him develop a Mountain and then go for that type of Cypher's Wrath play next turn.
Yeah, I think the Mountain in between the walls to take the Axe Grinder spot and just pass looks really strong. And I wonder if this is a heads-up call by Mayhem, just saying, I don't think you're going to be running Ground Shakers in that deck.
Aurora's Creation comes out as well. This has been a card, I think, that's been tossed around a little bit in the deck or not in this type of deck. There's usually some pretty good targets for it, but it just depends on really what you're running through the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely a card that's more popular in the Skywell variants. I don't think we'll see it in non-Skywell variants, but that way it lets you just run one Skywell and then you Creation it and you get access to potentially 3 more. And then always a great target on the Frog Tosser as well.
Yeah, and Mayhem here, I mean, when you get these elemental starts, it is actually incredible how quick this type of a deck puts out lands. We see him already on 6 special lands, and it's turn 4. Really able to accelerate quickly. Now, I Win Again is kind of in a little bit of not an awkward spot here with the lands just because of the development as well, but you really want to get an Axe Grinder spot inside the well instead of in between the wells where he currently has them. But Crumbling Golem's going to be really difficult for Mayhem to deal with here.
Yeah, the interesting thing though is that Frog Tosser actually summons 2 creatures when you play it. You get the Frog Tosser and the Toad, so that Crumbling Golem will take 2 ticks from it. And that would mean if the Water Alley hits, then the next creature summoned by Mayhem would kill it off. He could start with Figaro, take the Urn of Gaebria, and then hope to find a Feed the Forest and potentially full clear or kill off the Crumbling Golem at least.
Yeah, it would be really nice to find that type of a combo sequence. This deck does generally run the Living Willow Feed the Forest combo just because it is so strong in terms of the Faeria that you gain in order to tempo more of your cards out, just because you are giving up a little bit in order to accelerate your land development in the early game, and then it's a big swing in the late game.
Yeah, it would be a question though if he's also brought mono green. Now typically when you're playing blue-green, you exclude mono-green from your lineup, but if he's saying, okay, if everyone's going to be playing rush-style decks or greed decks, maybe I want the mono-green so I can counter red rush, I can counter yellow rush, and then maybe you would have Willow Feed in that deck and just play blue-green without it.
In this type of a situation, though, wouldn't he have gone to that deck now?
Yeah, that's a fair point. You would have just gone straight to the green deck.
And yeah, it's actually a very interesting discussion though, because Mayhem is in this situation where he played red-yellow as his starter. He's now played green-blue. That now covers all 4 of the colors. So what is his third deck? It's going to be very interesting what he ends up with here.
Yeah, because I think if he had neutral, I would have preferred to play neutral as well. Just because you can play neutral and just summon creatures next to your orb and get the advantage against rush decks. In terms of these trades, though, this is going to be a pretty difficult line. It looks like you want to take the trade on the Water Alley, Cypher's the 4/1, but, you know, then you just die to the next creature summoned, and potentially with a better line, you see Cypher's Flame Burst just full clear.
Yeah, it does end up being really nice draw last, of course. But this does leave you in a position where the Crumbling Golem, like you're saying, doesn't just die to the next creature down. Mayhem with a great draw here, getting the Leaping Fugu late in the game. That's going to come down. It's going to be able to trigger its buff here if Mayhem chooses to play a land instead of going for something like an extra card or the extra 1 Faeria and then passing this turn.
Yeah, if he lets both of those creatures hit him in the face, he's going to be taking 12 damage. He'll be down to 7 or 12 damage down to 6. I almost wonder if you would think about blocking, but no, he's going to try and just risk it.
Interesting. Yeah, Mayhem's going to leave himself in a very exposed position. Now, he does know that 1 Flame Burst is gone, so maybe he's going to play around in a position where you can get to a safe point, but even just going for this type of a play, I don't see how he comes back without getting a creature down that turn.
Shifting Octopus as a taunt is a potential way of getting back in, but you still have to deal with the fact that if he has Cypher's Wrath, he's going to have lethal.
Yeah, because now Shifting Octopus and Leaping Fugu coming down, or even Fugaro grabbing the Urn and getting that extra Faeria, that's going to kill the Crumbling Golem as well. It does pick up a Wood Elemental. That's another taunt coming down, but it's still a position where... Actually, does Wood Elemental play around Cypher's Wrath better because it just dies to both creatures on board instead of Shifting Octopus being left at 1 life from the Mace Man?
Yeah. Though I wonder if your only... It might just be your only chance of living is to draw and to feed the forest anyway, because you want to get out both taunts, because if you take 4 damage, right, it's just a matter of time before I Win Again finds Flame Burst. So I think in this situation, you just go for the draw and risk it.
Really difficult decision there. Goes for the +1 instead.
Is that better if you...
Log Tosser?
Oh, I would have thought he was going for a creation line on the Figaro to potentially play Urn and find another feed. But yeah, I guess not.
No, and this is going to be lethal. I Win Again does have that Cypher's Wrath in hand. He's going to be able to deal that 1 extra damage that he needs, and the Axe Grinder going to finish it off. So really nice play there. I think kind of a little awkward from from Mayhem, but really well played from I Win Again in the creatures that he selected in the deck, and Mayhem just couldn't deal with the 1 2 life left on some of these bigger creatures that I went against still had.
Yeah, those elementals, they are able to land ramp so fast when you have them early, but the problem is you're still paying additional Faeria to create those lands. And so I win again just with those very efficient Macemen, you know, the Hunted Outlaws, the Waryaks, just able to take those value trades and just build up the advantage. And he says, all right, if you want to play elementals, I'll punish it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like this deck is actually catered towards a counter for this green blue, just because, like you're saying, the elementals, they are a weaker stat line than everything that I Win Again was playing that game for equal Faeria cost. So really interesting. I'm very interested to see what Mayhem's last deck is, especially considering he went to that green blue in that spot against a rush archetype.
Oh, Balloonfish, Yellow Rush, it looks like. Okay.
That's
With
actually
the
really
Crystal
interesting
Flower.
because he used Flash Winds already in his starter in the red yellow burn, so you don't have access to that. But Balloonfish, yeah, really interesting card of being able to swallow one of your own creatures and then dash with the Balloonfish. So then your opponent has to deal with a 3/3, and then if they deal with that 3/3, they then have to deal with whatever was inside of it. So.
Now, it's a little bit surprising to me that he's running the flower in this deck, because I would have thought this is a deck that normally just wants to make, you know, 2 or 3 deserts, and then you run gnats, you run your Balloonfish, you know, fly around the map, and every once in a while you get a face hit in to potentially play your scavenger. But to ramp directly to 4 deserts makes me wonder what he's running in this deck.
Yeah, it might be more of, I don't want to say a control variant because we saw the Chargers in his first deck as well, but if it is something more like a slower rush, because like you're saying, you never really go past 2 deserts in a yellow rush, maybe 3 if you're running Last Nightmares, but you generally don't play that 3rd one until you find a Last Nightmare.
Crumbling Golem coming down, and it's a bit of a worry, usually against yellow, because they have the Wind Soldiers and the Soul Drain, and that lines up super efficiently. But Mayhem not with it in hand.
And just going to try to stall as much as possible here. Going to get that Balloonfish to accelerate forward. Really ended up being a weird position for I Win Again, just because he had the Hunted Outlaw. You want to continue to step forward with your creatures, but because you then want to play the Mountain for the Crumbling Golem, he just ends up with this Hunted Outlaw in the middle of the board, which now looks okay because he realistically could step backwards, kill the Balloonfish. It's going to drop the Scavenger, and that Flameburst and Handle line up really nice to kill it off, and in a really good land position as well to deny aggressive lands from the Yellow Rush player.
Yeah, and I was actually curious whether or not the Crumbling Golem was going to take the 1 additional damage after it was freed, but okay, I guess not. Templar picked up is going to be great. It means he can play it, dash up, and get that aggressive desert, but with no haste unit in hand, it's still a bit of a worry against the Red Rush player.
It was actually possibly a little bit of consideration to play the desert there and Crystal Flower the Crumbling Golem, but I think in this position you're just looking for another creature next turn, and then Soul Drain kills off the Crumbling Golem. Mayhem going to be in a position where he can start to recover some of his life total with those Soul Drains, so we'll have to see how aggressive I Win Again can be before those Soul Drains start to recover some of that.
I actually wonder if I Win Again's going to go for the trade, just because against Yellow Rush you're going to expect to see followers, you're going to expect to see Wranglers, but no, he keeps going face, says, all right, I'll just hope to find my Flameburst and get the lethal damage in before you have a chance of winning anyway.
Yeah, and does have the Cypher's Wraths as well, which are always really nice against Yellow Rush just because their creatures are weaker. The Shade Demon picked up there for Mayhem is actually a little awkward because you don't want to have its production go off and start to self-burn when you're already this low against a rush and against red, which has the Flame Burst like you're talking about. I'm very surprised that he went for a draw there, though, because it looked like he could have gone maybe +1 Shaitan Demon and Crystal Flower, if that was something he wanted to go for, or maybe he's just going to go for the Shaitan Demon and Soul Drain on the Crumbling Golem.
Well, I think we're going to see just the Flower and the Soul Drain here, able to take both creatures off the board, and if you found a haste unit into prayer, you would still be able to do this, so I think that's why the draw was favored.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, you would have had the extra Faeria gain from the Kaleem's prayer there.
Axe Grinder picked up is going to be a fantastic threat, but You know, Mayhem able to hit face for 6 with that Templar. It almost makes you consider, do I draw for Flame Burst to take it off the board?
I think the little delay there for my win again was also, do I put it in a more middle position to try to break the flower here? And really good thing that he didn't, because that Wind Soldier was a great pickup here for Mayhem. Would have been really nice to clear off the Axe Grinder if I Win Again hadn't played it in a position to get its +1/1 buff.
Now Mayhem can still kill it if he wants to. He can double land to make the Wind Soldier line to hit into it and collect Faeria, and then use the Monk to finish it off. It's almost worth it because you're on 10 life. You're going to be taking 5. You don't want to die to like a Flame Burst Cypher's Wrath. Alternatively, he could dash the Templar to block.
I mean, you're kind of in a position where we kind of always go for these lines of, do you play to win or do you play to not lose? And going for that Templar, I was actually surprised that he wasn't able to find something of like a Monk and getting the Templar down there, but it just didn't seem like it was possible with the way the lands were set up. That would have been really nice to get that extra 2 damage down on that turn, and then just set up possibly a 2-turn lethal here. It looks like it still could be a 2-turn lethal, but I Win Again now picking up the Emperor's Command can heal up for 4, and he should be just outside of lethal range.
Yeah, it was a thought whether you draw to try and find Flame Burst instead of the Emperor's Command, or you just +1 so that you can play the Horse Master with the Emperor's Command. And I guess he's just saying, alright, I need my Flame Burst for lethal anyway in case he stops one of my creatures. Mayhem with 12 damage on the board to go to the orb. I don't think you can find a lethal line unless you found like Flashwind, Prayer, and then another Wind Soldier. So
Yeah, but having
be...
seen Flashwinds in his opening deck, I wouldn't expect to see them. Maybe it's something like a Soul Drain, and then you can Soul Drain your own creature. I think you have to start with Ordra Monk. Picks up a Shaitan Demon. That's not going to do it for now.
Yeah, this means it now has to be Monk hit face because you have to find the Soul Drain in order to live.
But it's just not going to be enough Faeria here for Mayhem either. Another Crystal Flower picked up's not going to do it. Just 1 Faeria short of even using the Crystal Flower on the Axe Grinder to prevent that lethal of the next turn, but I just don't see a way that it's going to happen here, and it looks like I Win Again is going to have the 3-0 clean sweep with a neutral Red Rush deck.
Yeah, the Red Rush coming out very strongly with all those neutral, very efficient 4/4 Macemen, the Hunted Outlaw is a 4/5, the Waryak is a 4/5, just so many bodies that are so hard to deal with if you're not playing these higher statted creatures.
Really nice play there coming out from my Win Again. I think tailoring that deck beautifully, like we talked about throughout the course of the series, of there are these greedier archetypes out in the meta that are going to be played in the cup. So I'm going to bring something that is designed to target those. Get at them aggressively with your lands, with neutrals. Get at them aggressively with your creatures that are better statted. So really nicely played game coming out from Canadian Pride. I Win Again, showing off in the opening round. Let's toss it back over. Of course, you're going to stay on the desk, but Aquablad, what did you think of that series?
Well, I guess greed is not good. Greed lets Macemen and Hunted Outlaws and Waryaks run a train over you. What impressive performance from I Win Again in that first game. Really capitalizing on meta predictions, right? Oh, there's going to be a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of that. How do I counter these cards? Cappuccino was saying, Elementals don't like Macemen. Macemen kill them and they stay around. So how do you feel that matchup went for Mayhem? We saw I Win Again just run the train, but Mayhem, do you think he could have done anything differently, or did the matchups just line up really poorly?
There are some questions. So in the red-yellow, I think that's normally favored for the red-yellow player, just because if you find your Brigand gift or you find the Shine and Brute gift early, and then you get to take those trades into the Hunted Outlaw or the Maceman, like you get to collect, take those trades, it should favor you. So it was a bit unfortunate for him to have, I think it was Training, Charger, and then he drew into the Shine and Brute, and then he later found the gift. I think it was a bit unfortunate on his draws, but it's a question of when he was playing blue-green, why didn't he include Flower in that deck instead of the yellow Balloonfish deck, which maybe there was more reasoning to it that I didn't see. Maybe he's running Air Elementals as well, but a bit of a question mark there why he didn't run Flower in the blue-green.
I think this is one of the complications of the Pantheon format. When you get a load of really powerful cards from an expansion, you can only have them in so many decks. And how do you split those cards among your full lineup? And in Mayhem's lineup, we saw Crystal Flower in his Yellow Rush, whereas you said it probably had more strength in the blue-green. Blue-green uses Swallow really well, especially in combination with that Whale. But I guess Mayhem might be thinking, okay, Flower is really good in Yellow Rush. Maybe I need it for my Yellow Rush build, and I'm just going to have to rely on Whales and Frog Tossers and all those cards to make sure the blue-green can win its games.
Yeah, certainly a card I imagine he wanted to run in probably all three of his decks, because it was two multicolored decks, and then the only monocolor deck, I think, was running it. So probably a card he wanted in all three.
Yeah, we want 9 Crystal Flowers, three for every deck, but it cannot happen in Pantheon. I think that's one of the unique and nice things about the format. It does encourage deck building. You have to build your lineup very, very well if you want to win one of these monthly cups. But I win again, taking a 3-0 sweep over a previous monthly cup champion. I win again has been a monthly cup runner-up in the past, so I'm pretty sure he's happy with his performance so far. So I didn't expect neutral Red Rush as the opening deck. What other surprises do you think we'll see?
Well, I think that's probably the most surprising, to see those Hunted Outlaws. Unless we see maybe a Toe Ship deck, that might be surprising. But yeah, I kind of expected we'll see Red Rush or Red Combat, one of those two archetypes. Yeah. And then it'll be, Yellow Tempo or Yellow Rush. And then it'd be the Blue-Green. So I was a bit surprised to see Mayhem with the Burn deck, the Red-Yellow Burn. It would have been cool to see like a control matchup if he was up against a Blue-Green deck, to see if that Charger Grappling Hook could get a ton of value. But a bit unfortunate for Mayhem, he got rushed for that matchup.
Little ambitious against a rush deck, unfortunately. But well done to I Win Again. He will be moving on to the next round. And we will be back very soon with round 2 and some more Oversky action.
Discover the Adventure Pouch Oversky, featuring a first-of-its-kind co-op campaign. Team up with either friends or powerful Faeria characters and discover a ton of new content, including more than 30 new cards. Join now to experience the Emperor's daily challenges and reap exclusive rewards. Explore the Oversky and reap the rewards today.